please come forward, sir. Come on up here near the clerk and we'll get you sworn in.
Please raise your right hand. You do solemnly swear the testimony you shall give in the case now before the court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
Come on up here and have a seat. If you can keep that mic in front of you at all times, we'll be able to make a good record and we'll all be able to hear. Appreciate you being here, counsel.
Thank you, Judge. Good morning. Would you tell us your name, please?
Good morning. First name is Ben. Last name is Murie, spelled M-U-R-I-E.
And what is your occupation?
I am an assistant medical examiner at the Utah Office of the Medical Examiner.
How long have you been at that office?
It'll be about just shy of 3 years.
Were you engaged in that occupation before 3 years ago?
Yes,
Where was that?
in Las Vegas, Nevada.
And how long did you work in Las Vegas in that capacity?
About 2.5 years.
Were you similarly employed before that time?
No, before that, I was still finishing my training in forensic pathology.
All right. So I was going to ask you about that. What is your educational background that led you to that occupation?
Sure. So I completed 4 years of medical school in Pennsylvania, Erie, Pennsylvania. After that time, I did 4 more years of residency training in the field of clinical pathology and anatomic pathology in Hershey, Pennsylvania. And then after that, another year of specialized forensic pathology training in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
I am not entirely sure what pathology actually means. Would you please tell us that?
Yeah, generally speaking, it's the study of disease, and it could be. I think that's generally a pretty good way to say it. So, in a hospital setting, a pathologist may look at tissue under the microscope to diagnose, inflammatory conditions, or cancer, other disease processes. But for me, I deal with people who are dead.
Okay, that's a blunt way to put it, I guess. What is the difference between clinical and anatomic pathology?
Anatomic pathology I'll describe this in a hospital setting. That would be if the doctor who would look at a surgical specimen under the microscope. So if a surgeon cuts out an appendix or a gallbladder, the anatomic pathologist would review that and make a diagnosis. A clinical pathologist could also be a hospital doctor, but they would be doing some of the laboratory side of the hospital work. Perhaps like if you get a blood drawn and it goes down to the laboratory, there's a pathologist in charge down there, and that's a clinical pathologist.
All right, and so you completed 4 years, you said, residency in each of those specialties?
Yes.
Are you, and maybe this is a stupid question, you are a medical doctor, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then you mentioned that you did an additional year in forensic pathology. How does that differ?
Forensic pathology fellowship would be after completing the 4 years of residency, and there we would focus on the practice of an autopsy. And so, not every day, but almost every day, we would have a deceased person and perform an examination on them, and that went on for a year.
And after those training circumstances, that's when you went to work in Las Vegas as a medical examiner?
Correct.
Are there board certifications required to be a forensic medical examiner?
I'm not sure if they're required, but I am board certified in anatomic pathology and clinical pathology and forensic pathology.
What do you have to do to be board certified?
You should complete the training years, and then there are examinations that you need to take to be board certified.
So you took 3 probably really fun tests to gain those 3 certifications?
Yeah, I wouldn't call them fun, but I did take 3 exams, yes.
Okay. And do you have ongoing continuing education type requirements to maintain that certification?
Yes.
What are those?
So I do need to have a certain amount of medical education credits. And so every year or about, I need to submit the medical education requirements I've completed. There are some continuing test questions that I answer throughout the year that helps maintain my certifications.
Okay. Is your work also reviewed occasionally?
You mean at the office?
Yes.
Yes, sometimes.
And you are current in your ongoing continuing education?
Yes.
What, in general, is the purpose of a medical examiner?
In general, the purpose would be to determine a cause of death or a manner of death. Both a cause and a manner of death for anybody that comes in the office.
Okay, what's the difference between those two phrases that you just used?
Yeah, a cause of death would be the kind of the final or physiologic derangement is sort of the word, the process that the body is starting to die. So that would be the cause. So for example, if somebody had a heart attack and dropped down and died, after an examination, likely the cause of death would be, coronary artery disease or atherosclerosis or sclerotic cardiovascular disease, something like that. Then a manner of death, on the other hand, is more referring to the circumstances surrounding a person's death. So we have 5 options to choose from, and they are homicide, suicide, accident, natural, and undetermined. And so manner of death would be one of those 5 choices.
Okay, what is the purpose of determining the manner of death?
For my purposes, it's for documentation for the state and epidemiology. That's kind of my focus.
Is it meant to have any legal effect?
It could, but I don't know necessarily that it is meant that way. I'm not sure.
All right. Have you, in your past experience, dealt or worked specifically with insulin overdose cases?
Occasionally.
All right. Can you recall how many off the top of your head?
And not very many. They are, in my experience, there's been a few, probably less than 10.
And that's between both Nevada and Utah?
Yeah, that I can remember right now.
Okay. And what do you typically review in preparation for writing your report?
So it is case by case dependent, but generally speaking, when I'm generating my report, I'll review the autopsy or examination findings, and then review the pertinent background history, pertinent medical record. Sometimes law enforcement records are available too. So that's pretty typical.
What type of background history are you referring to and reviewing for after an autopsy?
Yeah, so we have there's a group in my office called the medical legal investigators, or the death investigators, I guess. I don't remember the exact term at the moment, but their job is to go to the scene of a death and gather information and write that down into a narrative so I can read through it before beginning the autopsy, and I can refer to it later on as well.
Was that investigation team involved in this particular case?
Yes.
And why is a medical record important to you?
It tells some of the story of what happened prior to death, if it's available. And there's other cases where a person may be dead in their house, and all that's, we don't really have a lot of what led up to the event, but we do have some record of a previous doctor visit or something.
All right. And in an insulin overdose case in particular, would the medical record be important to you?
Yes.
Why is that?
Well, that has a documentation of some of the lab values that may have, may have come up since the initial admission until time of death.
Would you anticipate or expect a medical record to contain information that may not be available readily upon autopsy or toxicology?
Could you please repeat the question?
Like, I am not sure that. Would you expect a medical record, a chart from a patient to perhaps contain information that wouldn't be readily apparent from an autopsy or toxicology result?
Yes.
Would that be the case in an insulin overdose?
It certainly could be.
And what process do you typically follow when you conduct an autopsy?
The autopsy usually begins as some of my support staff, my technicians, they'll have the body on a table for me, and then I'm able to do an external examination of the body where we document, it could be hair color, presence or absence of tattoos, presence or absence of injury, etc. Just head to toe examination externally of the body. After that point, then we begin with an internal examination of the body, and that's where we make the standard Y-shaped incision on the front of the torso and examine the organs inside.
And you do that both just visually and microscopically?
Not always microscopically, but yes, visually.
And would it be fair to say that there are autopsies where the cause of death is immediately apparent from just viewing the decedent?
Yes.
For example, a gunshot wound or stab wound or something like that?
Yes.
In this particular case, was the cause of death immediately apparent to you?
No.
And you did prepare a medical report, or I'm sorry, a medical examiner's report in this case.
Correct.
Can I show you Exhibit 29? It'll take just a minute to come up. Okay, do you see that on your monitor?
Yes.
And what is that document?
This is a copy of my autopsy report.
All right, does it look to accurately reflect what you prepared in this case?
So far.
Okay. If that changes, let me know.
Okay.
All right, state moves to admit Exhibit 29.
Sorry, I missed it.
29.
No objection.
We're not going in order.
Court received states 29, wish to publish.
Thank you, Judge. So the first two pages are, I don't mean to characterize it for you, but would that be accurate to say that those are your diagnoses and conclusions, and the remaining pages describe your support for those diagnoses and conclusions? Do we want to scroll through that quickly?
Am I able to? Oh, okay.
So those are the first two pages.
Okay.
Stop there for just a second. Do you recognize the signature on that page?
Yes,
And who is that?
that is mine.
And below that is a handwritten date.
Correct.
What does that date signify?
That's the date I completed my report.
All right. Can you, sorry, Chelsea, go back up to the top. Is there indicated on this report the date of the actual autopsy?
Yes, at the top on the right-hand side where it says date and time of exam.
And that is?
August 16th, 2024.
Okay, so it took you roughly, I guess, 5 months to complete the report?
Yeah, that sounds right if my math is correct.
Okay, and I'm sorry, Chelsea, go back up. The date of death is also noted
Correct.
as 8/15/2024?
Yes.
Why is that important to you?
This is documentation. This could be relevant if there's a large gap in between the time of death and the time of autopsy. But I guess it does tell me that the death happened relatively soon before the exam started.
Okay, that was gonna be my next question. All right, so, I wanna go down to page 3. And this, it's labeled external examination. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
Just generally speaking, did you notice anything in that external examination that explained the cause of death to you?
No.
You mentioned, go down a little bit, Chelsea, please. Okay, stop there, and upper, sorry, keep going. All right, and now you noted evidence of injury, and injuries of the upper extremities. You talk about some contusions. What is a contusion?
A contusion would just be a large word for bruise.
I'm sorry, say that again?
It means a bruise.
Okay. Were any of these contusions or bruises that you noted something that would be a cause of death?
No.
And you noted some on the upper extremities. There's one on the lower abdomen, on the right shoulder arm, right forearm, left shoulder, left arm, and the right antecubital fossa. Is that an accurate summary?
Yes.
As well as then down below that, also one on the right buttock?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. Do you have any information about what would have caused any of those bruises?
I don't know.
Okay, just something you noted because that was part of your examination.
Correct.
Would they be consistent with medical intervention?
Some of them could.
All right. Would they also possibly be consistent with injections?
Yeah, they could.
You just don't know what?
But I don't know. I mean, I did mention where it says other, there was other left antecubital fossa that it could be medical intervention too.
All right, and so that's going to be the next explanation. What's a right antecubital fossa?
Oh, that's like if you put out your hand and you feel your elbow, it's just the opposite side from your elbow. So where a typical blood draw happens.
And then after making your observations on the external examination, you proceeded to an internal examination?
Correct.
And if we just scroll down a little bit, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on any of this, but would it be fair to say that your findings on internal examination were all unremarkable or normal for the most part?
If you want to scroll down to the cardiovascular, I think she had a large heart and some dilation of, there it is, right ventricular dilation. So that's not entirely normal. And then there was also a finding of she had one kidney. So that wouldn't really be normal. But I didn't note those.
Okay, let me talk about the heart for just a second, if you could go back up, thank you. Is an enlarged heart something that happens at death or pre-death?
It would happen before death.
What is that symptomatic of?
I mean, there's a number of reasons to have a enlarged heart or a dilated heart. If somebody has some systemic issues, obesity can lead to it, hypertension, high blood pressure can lead to it, chronic alcohol use. In this case, it wasn't an enormous heart, but it was on the large side.
Was it a finding that you considered to be indicative of a cause of death?
In some people, it could be.
Was it in this case?
I didn't think so it was in this case.
Okay. And you also noted, as you said, the single kidney, if we can go down a little bit, Jesse, and urogenital system. You
Yes.
noted kidney on the right was absent.
Correct?
Did that appear to you to having been removed at some point or having been born that way?
My understanding is that's how she was born, but that's what I understand right now anyway.
Okay, could you tell that from autopsy, or whether it was congenital or removed later on down the road?
I mean, if it was removed, there might be some surgical clips or a big scar or something like that.
You didn't see anything like that?
Not that I recall, and not that I noted here.
Okay, and the remaining kidney, what was its status?
So if you look there, it says surface, second line down from urogenital system, says granular. So that's indicative of some scarring that's happened in the kidney.
What does that mean to you?
There's a number of things that can cause scarring of the kidney, disease processes, but it's a kidney that has undergone some stress over time.
Would that have been sufficient in your determination to be a cause of death in this particular case?
No, not by itself.
Did you see in the course of your autopsy any indications that this lady had any form of cancer?
I did not.
And if you could go down again, please. In microscopy, you see, thank you, down at the brain, and you listed indications in the brain that were consistent with ischemia. Do you see that?
Yes.
What is ischemia?
Ischemia would be low blood flow to the brain, so it would be poor oxygenation of the brain tissue.
And was this significant to your determination of cause of death?
Let me back up. I wouldn't necessarily say low blood flow to the brain, but I mean low oxygen to the brain. And in this case, it's evidence that she had some kind of period of low oxygenation.
Okay. What happens with low oxygen to the brain?
Well, just like every tissue in your body, every organ in your body needs oxygen to perform its functions. And so without that, you can have cell death. And when you have cell death, you have, altered or diminished function of those organs.
Would brain or ischemia of the brain be consistent with an insulin overdose?
You can have low blood sugar that can have some similar overlapping, similar changes. And so it's I would say it's more like a low sugar kind of thing.
Okay. All right. Under that, you listed additional studies including toxicology and insulin testing. If we could scroll up, Chelsea, please. No, other way, sorry, scroll down, stop, what? Perfect, thank you. Okay, why were additional studies necessary in this case?
Toxicology testing is sort of a routine thing that we do on almost all decedents or those who've died. Of course, there are some cases where we don't do it, but in this case, that's a routine thing. And then, given the history, I was given about a possible insulin or the hypoglycemia that she arrived in. That's why we did some of these tests. Although she did have a long hospitalization, but yeah, that's the reason why.
Okay, you say long hospitalization. Is 3 days in your mind a long hospitalization?
Yeah, I guess for the purposes of testing for drugs or whatever, of course, if somebody has gone to the hospital on day one then day 3 we test their blood for a drug or something, it's likely impossible that, it is possible that that drug is gone or changed,
Over the
concentration.
course of the 3 days that
Yeah.
she, okay. What does hypoglycemia mean?
And that would be low blood sugar.
All right, is that another name, I guess, for an insulin overdose?
Well, it would be the effect of, it could be the effect of an insulin overdose.
Okay, that makes sense. If you overdose on insulin, it causes hypoglycemia, which is low blood sugar.
Yes.
All right. Why is low blood sugar problematic?
Well, just like your organs need oxygen to function, they also need energy to function, and that energy is usually in the form of glucose. Glucose being essentially a sugar that your organs use. And your brain loves glucose; it uses it very readily. And so, if you have if you have a diminished amount of blood sugar, that can again alter or diminish your organs' functions.
All right. You list in here insulin, C-peptide, and free and total insulin. And what do those two things mean?
So insulin is a chemical that can be made by the body, and that helps to regulate our blood sugar. C-peptide is a part of that also, and so when your body makes insulin, it's made in kind of a large molecule, and attached to that insulin part is a piece called C-peptide, and your body takes the C-peptide off to make the insulin, more just plain old insulin. So the presence of C-peptide would be a clue that there's natural, or in other words, endogenous insulin present.
Can you say that last sentence for me one more time?
The presence of C-peptide would indicate that there is like what I call endogenous, or insulin made by the body.
Okay. Does insulin that is injected also contain that C-peptide molecule?
Not to my knowledge.
All right, so this notation about insulin with C-peptides would be specific to any insulin that was naturally produced within the body?
Yes.
And what about free and total insulin?
That just talks about the insulin that is present in the body. So some insulin can be bound to other proteins, some not, and that's not bound is free.
And what do you mean by bound?
I'd have to refresh my recollection on the biochemistry of that, but what I seem to remember is that there's other proteins that will bind to certain chemicals in your blood, and so when they're bound, they're bound to a protein.
Okay. Would that indication there about the quantity of free and total insulin be an indication of artificially induced insulin or naturally occurring insulin?
I wouldn't be able to tell with that.
Okay. So when you completed your autopsy on this case, were you able to decide what had caused the death without additional information?
Do you mean when I finished the autopsy that day? Or
That day.
that day? No, I needed more information.
Okay. What more information did you seek?
I reviewed medical records. I believe we did a microscopic analysis. That usually takes a couple weeks after, or sometime after. And then law enforcement records.
What about toxicology?
Oh yeah, and toxicology results. And all that takes time to come back.
All right. Did you ever speak to the toxicologist about this case?
I don't remember. I don't think so.
All right. So your reliance on toxicology as part of developing the conclusions that you did were just from this report, not from a conversation that you had with that individual?
Yes.
So going back up then to your conclusions on the first page. Thank you. Leaving aside for a minute number 1, you listed various pathologic diagnoses 2 through 9, correct?
Correct.
Were any of those, in your opinion, after conducting the autopsy and the additional information that you received, determined to be the cause of her death?
No.
So it's fair to say that number 1 is what you found to be her cause of death?
Yes.
And that was the combined effects of oxycodone, alprazolam, promethazine, and probable exogenous insulin use?
Yes.
Were the combination of the first 3, oxycodone, alprazolam, and promethazine, sufficient by themselves to have caused the death?
I mean, their effects can be added up. In my opinion, though, in this case, no.
With the probable exogenous insulin, well, let me ask you first, what does exogenous insulin use mean?
That would be insulin from outside the body.
So insulin that's been injected in most likelihood?
Yes.
And that's compared to the term you used earlier, endogenous?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
So endogenous is naturally occurring insulin in the body,
Yes.
and exogenous is introduced into the body from externally.
Right.
Okay. Would the effects of what you noted, probable exogenous insulin use, would have been sufficient for her death, even absent the oxycodone, alprazolam, and promethazine?
Yeah, from my recollection, the hypoglycemia or the low sugar was quite low, and so yeah, I think in the absence of those first ones, the exogenous insulin would be a key factor.
Okay. We talked a little bit earlier about the autopsy occurring on August 16th and the report being completed on January 22nd. Is that an unusual gap of time to complete a report after an autopsy?
I mean, generally we strive to have reports done, 90% of our reports done before 90 days. But, sometimes backlogs happen and some cases take some more consideration. In this case, I don't remember exactly why it took roughly 5 months or whatever, but it could be backlog, could be just continued consideration.
Okay, all right. That's all the questions I have. Thank you for being here this morning.
Thank you.
Mr. Lewis, do you have an estimate of how long your cross will be?
105 minutes.
Dr. Murie, are you available to come back after lunch?
Sure. What time would that be?
1 o'clock?
Yeah.
Would that work? Are we okay to do that?
No objection here.
No objection.
Okay, as long as you're okay, come back at 1.
Yes.
Okay, all right. We're gonna take our lunch break right now. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I want you back here at 1 o'clock, and we'll get going again. I need to remind you that you are admonished by the court that it is your duty not to converse among yourselves or to converse with any other person on any subject of the trial, and it is your duty not to form or express an opinion thereon until the case is finally submitted to you. This includes no individual research on the parties, attorneys, or claims. We'll see you back here at 1.
All rise for the jury.
Council, before we break, I've got good news. I found coverage for the 23rd.
Oh, wow.
Sometimes miracles happen.
Thank you.
We appreciate that,
This is one of them. So we can plan on the 23rd. The only key is we need to make sure the jurors are okay with that, because they weren't planning on the 23rd. So before we break this evening, if I don't remember, one of you need to remind me to talk to the jurors about that, and I will ask him if that's gonna be a problem for him, and if it is for any of them, I'll get their juror number and then we'll talk about it, what to do. But I do have coverage, so I think that should help
We appreciate
you
that, Judge.
guys.
Very much,
So-
thank you.
Also, additionally, I apologize, I know you have a meeting to get to. The state yesterday indicated, and I believe Your Honor agreed, that a curative instruction is appropriate given Mr. Williams' statements in opening. We've consulted with our kind of admin team, including some former appellate attorneys, about the language of that instruction. I've emailed Brooke and Mr. Williams what our proposed instruction would look like. The state would prefer it be given sooner rather than later, because if the jury goes the whole 2 weeks believing that we have a burden that's different than what the law requires, we believe that can make a difference. And so I didn't know if everybody wanted to maybe review that over the lunch hour and we could have further discussions about it, but we wanted to get our proposed language to Your Honor as soon as possible.
Thank you. I've seen it and I've got some thoughts.
Judge, I have not, and I need this lunch hour
Yeah.
because
I'm-
the state changed order of witnesses. I also wonder, and I'm not challenging, I'm just explaining, I kind of need this lunch hour more than I might otherwise because of the swap of witness order and my preparation. Also, is it possible, well, do we know whether the state generated, first of all, the request for one, and the proposed instruction in connection with any transcript of what happened?
I mean, you've been present and we've been on the record for all of the proposed instruction, obviously we have talked about that separately, but I've emailed it to you and you're welcome to review it, but the discussion about it can take place on the record and that's what I intend.
No, I'm sorry, you're misunderstanding me. It's in reaction to the suggestion that something I said causes it to be needed.
That's correct.
Do we have a transcript yet? I think we could probably get a recording. How soon, Brooke, could we get a recording of the opening?
Yeah, you would send me a copy of the recording.
And because we can get it
Yeah.
AI'd. I'd like to
I think
know.
that may help. We're not gonna have that discussion right now. We may not even be able to have it today, but I've got some thoughts on that
Okay.
too, but you're gonna have a chance, you need to have a chance to respond.
Right, I
And
need to
you guys
know
might
what
come
the
up with your
basis
own,
for
you
it.
may come up with your own agreement anyway.
Sure, that's my point.
All right, I'm aware.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you all. We'll see you all back here at 1.
All right. This is that's tried to watch.
Judge and jury.
Thank you. Please be seated. We're going to go back on the record on case 251-401-132, State of Utah versus Sundwall. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, hopefully you had a good lunch. We appreciate your attention to these matters. These trials, any kind of trial, there's always a lot of ebb and flow and a lot of pivoting, too. So sometimes it's hard to track witnesses when certain witnesses are called out of order for certain reasons and everything of that nature. Rest assured, at the end of the trial, you're going to get all the exhibits that we're offering. You're going to get a chance to review all of those. But there's just a lot of pivoting in these types of trials that's required from the attorneys, and they're doing their best to just keep it moving. But we appreciate your attention to all of this. Counsel, anything we need to cover before Dr. Murie?
Not from the bench, Your Honor.
Not from the state.
Doctor, you want to come on back up? Doctor, we appreciate your accommodation. I will remind you that you are still under oath. Mr. Williams, when you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Dr. Murie, thanks for sticking with us over the lunch break.
Of course.
I would like to talk to you mainly about what you do, who you do it for, what kind of training you need, what kind of output you and your position generate, okay? Let's be general, in other words, rather than specific to start with, at least with your report.
Okay.
You're a medical examiner and have been for a number of years here in Utah,
Correct.
and were a medical examiner in Nevada.
Yes.
Total of, I missed exactly, how many years have you been a medical examiner before you come to court today?
6.5 to 7.
In
Wait,
that,
wait. 2.5 to 6. Sorry. 5.5, 6.
in that capacity, we've heard about a lot of training you have had, and that includes a lot of medical training, right?
Yes.
You're a medical doctor.
Yeah. It's a osteopathic medical doctor. Same. Yeah.
Learning about some of the things you testified, you made conclusions about, like toxicology, right?
Yes.
Not a toxicologist. You learn about that in the course of your medical training.
Correct.
All sorts of other training that a doctor gets, right?
Yes.
And my point here is when you bring to the medical examiner position a vast history of training, education on medicine. Agreed?
Yes.
And then you have your practical experience as a medical examiner day to day, right?
Yes.
Which includes applying all of that training to your job as a medical examiner.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're using that medical training and that expertise when you're doing your medical examiner work, right?
Yes.
And the reason I'm kind of saying medical versus medical examiner is, as you said it, you don't actually treat the living.
That's correct.
My favorite line from the first Men in Black.
I don't recall that one.
Medical examiners, I hate the living, instead of medical examiner. But the point is that you're still doing medicine and applying medicine and utilizing all that training when you do your job as a medical examiner, even though you're not examining living people.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. And then Now let's talk to the difference then. As a medical examiner, you're taking that training, using that training, but involving causes and manners of death, right?
Yes.
That's your primary role as in the medical examiner's office, right?
Yes.
It's set aside. It's a specific office for medical examiners in the state of Utah, right?
I'm sorry, you said it was set aside?
It's not in a hospital.
Oh, yes, that's correct.
It's not in a clinical setting. It's in its own office set apart or set aside for people to do medical examining, to analyze and do casework on deceased people.
Yes, it's a state office.
In that capacity, you also bring to the table forensic activity, right?
Yes.
Forensic analysis. Is that a better way to apply it, say it?
Yes.
Forensic part means related to investigations. Is that fair?
Yeah, the way I understand it, it's for the people. Yeah.
But I mean, it's got its own special aspect of investigation. Is that fair?
Yes.
You describe it. Well, I'll just stay out of it for a second. Describe to the jury that forensic part as you see it.
Yeah, so we have an investigatory aspect of our job, to find out the circumstances in which a person died. And then, the other aspect is when these go to a court like now, or when there's other types of litigation. I think that's where the forensic part goes along with it.
Okay, and I guess what I'm getting at is that beyond just sort of looking at all the medicine and assessing a body with your medical knowledge, you're also assessing a case. Agreed?
Yeah, we call them cases. Maybe not in the same way that another organization may assess, but primarily I'm just trying to figure out how a person died.
Your cause and manner of death.
Correct.
But, so let's talk about that for a minute. Not everybody who dies ends up getting an autopsy, right?
That's true.
People get autopsies under are brought to the office to get an autopsy under unattended deaths, right?
Yes.
Suspicious or police-related investigation deaths, right?
Yes.
Things of that manner. And so that's what I mean by a case. It's not just like a medical case, it also has this forensic aspect. It's tied to other sorts of efforts to find out information. Is that fair?
Yes.
And it's very frequently, if not always, law enforcement related.
Yeah.
So you're working in the investigative capacity with law enforcement, right?
I wouldn't say we're working with, we do work together, but I would say work with, not for.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was going to get to that together. You spoke to the jury a little bit on direct about the autopsy efforts. And let me just lay those out a little bit more along the lines that I'm kind of thinking about cases and casework in this theme that I'm stuck on. Okay? You look at the body, you apply your medical knowledge, you look at toxicology and all of those very scientific, observable things to help make your conclusions on cause and manner of death, right?
Yes.
But you also get involved in finding out information from law enforcement investigative efforts.
Yes.
And you want that information in order to do the best job you can at reaching manner of death, right?
Yes.
Law enforcement are almost always attending an autopsy, right?
It varies from case to case.
They do often?
If there is, if they have certain questions, or if sometimes for education purposes they do. I don't know exactly how many times, but
Fair enough.
yeah.
In this case, they did, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Law enforcement, as you indicated, on direct, among the things that you do is you seek out information in your investigation to try to determine manner of death from law enforcement agencies, right?
Yes.
You get police reports. Is that fair?
Yes.
You talk to detectives or others that might have the information, right?
Yes.
By the way, you also get medical reports, like in this case it was from hospitalization. You were able to get those medical reports as well, right?
Yes.
So you get medical information. I won't be general anymore. Let's talk about Kacee Terry. You get medical history, right?
Yes.
You saw the toxicology. You already talked about that, right?
Correct.
Some of those things you have to wait a bit for sometimes,
Yes.
for those toxicology reports and things. But this is part of the process. And then you work with trying to learn what there is to learn from law enforcement efforts to reach your conclusions, right?
Yes.
That, again, includes, you can call a detective if you have a question that might, the answer to which might help you render your conclusion on manner of death, right?
Yes. Yes.
In this particular case, you know from your report that is in evidence that you did do outreach, did speak to Detective Farney, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
And she could talk to you and you could talk to her freely in the course of your generating your investigation and ultimate report, right? Nothing stopping
So,
that.
no.
Questions for each other you can ask, right?
Yes.
Also with other officers, and for instance, let me add this component, you actually have an investigator in your office, right?
That's right.
So that investigator is sort of assigned to your autopsy case as well to go find out facts to help inform your opinion or your decision.
Yes, and it could be there could be other investigators involved too.
Sometimes those investigators who work at your office actually have other jobs as police officers in certain agencies, right?
I don't know anyone specifically, but I know that's a possibility, or some do.
In this particular case, your investigator who was assigned to this case, do you know what agency that person worked for when they weren't acting as an investigator for you?
I don't.
But this investigator often, and in fact in this case, also may go to a scene
Yes.
of a death. Or what officers might call it a scene of a crime, but a scene that is relevant to the investigation you're doing with them, right?
Right.
Get police reports, right?
Yes.
Talk to agents about what witnesses have said. Correct?
Yeah.
Learn what conclusions may be the opinion or have been reached by police investigators, right?
Yes.
Working that way with the science, the medical, and then the law enforcement and law enforcement activities, you are ultimately looking to make, to the best of your ability, a forensic conclusion on manner of death, right?
Correct.
Now, how many autopsies have you done? Hundreds?
As of today, probably over 2,000
That's hundreds, I guess, times
something.
something. Okay, 2,000 autopsies. You do this, you work in this capacity, you ultimately generate reports. Now, sometimes, even after you've generated an initial report, further information might be garnered, and you can actually amend your report, right?
Yes.
At any time, if you got information that you thought affected your ultimate manner of death decision, you could amend it.
I could.
So let's talk about all that effort and all that information, and the things that you talked about medically, and all the information you had on January 22nd, 2025, you ultimately issued your medical examiner report that was entered into evidence, right?
Yes, if that's the date. I don't particularly remember the date on it, but
Fair enough.
yeah.
It's on mine, and I thought that was developed on direct. Whatever, it's on the exhibit, and it's
Yes.
entered, I think it's 37. You don't have it in front of you?
I do not have it in front of me.
Let me see, you know what, this would be worth it, because as I look at the report, which ended up getting entered into as an exhibit in its total, it has some stamps and things on it. I'm not gonna try to ask you what they all are, I'm gonna go back to this question, just when you issue your report, because I don't know what the other stamps mean. Can I go to it? Ignore my highlights, does this look like your report, you saw page 1 up?
Yes, it does.
On the second page, is your signature on it?
Yes.
And is it 1/22/25,
Yes.
handwritten?
Handwritten.
You wrote it?
Yes.
Okay. And on that date, pursuant to everything you had done, everything we heard you looked at, you rendered your professional conclusion as the manner of death is undetermined. Correct?
Correct.
And that's January 22nd, 2025. An abundance of completeness here. You're sitting here on the stand today. That is still your conclusion, correct?
Yes.
Nothing further.
Redirect?
Yes, thank you, Judge. I don't want to keep you too long, Dr. Murie. You indicated, you answered one of Mr. Williams' questions that you work with, not for law enforcement. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Does law enforcement dictate in any direction what they want or expect your conclusions to be in doing a medical examination?
Their input is helpful, but it doesn't ultimately is my decision.
And when he was going through some of the information that you rely on informing your opinions, you mentioned medical history,
Yes.
which we talked about also, right?
Correct.
In this particular case, was her entire medical history important to you, or just the final hospitalization?
I mean, I had some. The most important was probably the final terminal records or the final hospitalization. I believe I was aware of some past medical history. I don't remember the details.
Okay, so for example, you didn't find any information regarding any mental health treatment, anything like that?
I don't remember.
Okay, but that didn't go into your conclusion?
Ultimately, no.
And you said you learned what is available from the law enforcement agency and received their reports, correct?
Yes.
And you reviewed those?
Yes.
Let me just show you. This is the police report in this case from the Lone Peak Police Department. Did you review this entire thing?
I do not have that entire thing in my record.
Okay, and it's, 500-ish pages. You didn't read all of that, correct?
No.
Did you have at your disposal the FBI analyses in this case?
I did not.
Did you have the Utah Bureau of Forensic Science reports in this case?
No, I don't think so.
Did you have available to you all of the text messages between the decedent and the accused in this case?
No.
And manner of death. you said earlier that that's a medical determination, not a legal one, correct?
For my purposes, yeah, medical or even statistical.
All right. And your determination in this case was that it was undetermined. What does that mean?
That means I did not feel, at least for my purposes, I could not categorize the cause of death into one of the other 4 manners.
Okay. And those other manners that you talked about were natural,
Yes,
accident, homicide,
yes,
suicide,
yes,
accident.
correct.
Did I already say that one?
I think maybe you did, but
Okay.
there's 5 total.
Was there another one that I missed?
Maybe you missed undetermined.
Thank you. Undetermined is the 5th. Okay. And you found it undetermined. You didn't feel the manner of death was homicide.
No, I fault everything. At the end, the evidence that I had went to undetermined.
And would that be because you could not say from a medical standpoint how the exogenous insulin was introduced into Kacee Terry's body?
I would say I couldn't. That's part of it, and also I couldn't say how the other substances were administered.
Okay. And you also did not find it to be a suicide, correct?
Correct.
And that is one of the options available to you?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the state of Utah brought you here as the medical examiner to render an opinion that you maintain as of today that this is not a homicide matter of death, and apparently pointing out they didn't give you all the information?
I mean, I don't know if I always have the entirety of every investigation for every case, but based on
Could have, right?
possible.
To see if whether your conclusion would change perhaps to suicide? That could happen, right?
It could.
Nothing further.
Anything else from the state?
Having opened that door, you didn't make the change to suicide, correct?
I did not.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here, doctor. Feel free to sit down.
Thank you.
He can be released from the subpoena, Judge.
Any objection to releasing the witness?
No objection.
Free to go.
Thank you, Doctor.
Next witness.
The state calls Diane Allred.
Please come forward, come up here to the clerk, and we'll get you sworn in.
Please raise your right hand. You do solemnly swear the testimony you shall give in the case now before the court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Come on up here and have a seat. Thanks for being here. The only thing I